What up, geeks? This Friday is Apple iPad Pro pre-order day, and I know a lot of you guys have been asking, which should I get, the 11-inch or the 12-inch? We're going to talk about it in this video, and the answer is going to disappoint a lot of you. But before we dive in, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss as we cover your favorite tech and video games. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granted Geek Show. So first things first, guys, a thank you is due to our old and new subscribers. Thank you for getting our Apple Secret Plan Granted Geek episode to over 100,000 views in just a couple of days. It's truly overwhelming. You guys are the reason that we do this. And without further ado, here's how the video is going to break down. We are going to break it into three categories. It's going to be screen size, and portability. Then the second category is going to deal with performance. And then finally, we're going to talk about workflow. And at the end of the video, I'm going to say which person each iPad suits, and there's a third secret competitor, and that's the one that's going to disappoint a lot of you. So let's get into it. First off, screen size, and portability. Okay, starting off with the screen technology, the iPad Pro 11-inch from 2021 is exactly the same technology as we had in the previous generations, the past couple of generations, but the new 12.9-inch uses a new technology called Mini LED, and in a nutshell, that basically means you have extremely high contrast ratios between the darkest points and the lightest points on your screen. So this, I'm not going to downplay it. It's absolutely amazing for both viewing and consuming versus creating content. It's going to be fantastic. So as far as screen technology, I've got to give the win to the iPad Pro 12.9-inch. So if you're doing anything heavily visual, you are going to see a major difference there. Now, moving on to the actual screen size, 11 inches versus 12.9 inches. I've used everything from the 10.2, 10.5, 11-inch, and 12.9-inch iPads, and it is a world of difference using the 12.9-inch versus the 11-inch. From multitasking to just viewing your content, everything looks better on the bigger screen. And it's amazing how big the screen feels despite it just being 12.9 inches. But when you eliminate so much of that border, you really feel like you're holding a giant screen. The 11-inch is great, like, don't get me wrong, but especially when it comes to multitasking, once you go to the 12.9-inch, it's really hard to lose those almost 2 inches. So as far as screen real estate, I've got to give the win again to the iPad Pro 12.9-inch. And finally, for our first section, we'll talk about portability. And this is an obvious guess. The 11-inch iPad Pro is going to be more portable. It's going to fit into more bags. It's going to be easier to one hand. So for all-around portability, the edge has to go to the 11-inch iPad Pro. But hear me out, the 12.9-inch is no slouch. It is still very portable. People say, oh, well, it's too big, it's too hard to one hand. It's still significantly smaller than your average 13-inch laptop that a lot of people consider very portable. So just because it's not as portable as the 11-inch does not mean that it's not portable. But yeah, we're going to give the win to the 11-inch iPad Pro. So 2 out of 3 go to the 12.9-inch iPad for our first category of screen size, and portability. Now moving to the second section, which is performance. A lot of you probably already know that the M1 is coming on both the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch. So as far as performance, as far as Apple's website right now, the 11-inch will not be throttling more than the 12.9-inch despite having less space in there. So we can assume they're dead even in that department. They both come with the same 8 gigs of RAM and everything from the 128 gigabyte model to the 512. But as soon as you get over that 1 terabyte to 2 terabyte margin, they both come with 16 gigs of RAM. So they're actually dead even there as well. They are both rocking the new Thunderbolt port with USB 4, and so for I/O, they're dead even once again. So obviously, as you can tell, it is a tie in performance. Don't think that just because you're getting the bigger model that you're going to be getting the more powerful iPad, although it's kind of touted as that typically. The mini LED display is the only difference that you're going to see, and in fact, you might see lower numbers because the 12.9-inch has to push that huge mini LED display, whereas the 11-inch is not doing all that. It's rocking the older display technology, which is absolutely beautiful as well. And just a little tidbit, they both also have the same cameras and the front-facing 12 megapixel wide camera that you can use kind of as that movable camera for FaceTime and stuff like that. I'll probably be making some videos testing those out. So section number 2, aka the performance section, ends in a tie between the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And speaking of workflow, let's move into our final section, section 3, which is workflow. And this is where we're going to get into some of the disappointing information for a lot of our viewers. I'm going to chop up up this last section into 3 work types. So it's going to be your consumer, your student, and your prosumer/professional use case type. So starting off with the consumer, overkill. We are in the overkill section. This M1 chip is going to crush absolutely everything you could throw at it, from Facebook, email, web browsing, even a couple presentations if you have to do that, Netflix in 4K, YouTube in 4K, any videos you could be consuming, even gaming. It's going to not even be close. There is nothing on the App Store or any application you could run on iOS that will even begin to make this chip sweat. So we are firmly in the overkill category if you are a consumer. We'll get to that a little bit later. Next, I want to talk about the student, as I'm a student as well. And once again, it's the overkill category. So if you're using PDFs, using Word or Pages, your word processing, Excel spreadsheets, kind of PowerPoint or Keynote or something like that, as well as sending emails, doing documents, all that kind of stuff, overkill once again. This chip absolutely, it's so powerful that it inhibits me from speaking. No, seriously, guys, it's firmly in the overkill category as well. So you're fully covered if you are a student. This thing is doing tons more than you would ever use it for. And now let's get into the prosumer and professional use case type. And I'm going to say overkill. Once again, the M1 chip can absolutely crush every single app, professional or non, that you could throw at it. And with those 8 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of RAM, your professional workflows working in split screen is not going to be a problem for the device. But I will say this, the iPad Pro M1 is not made for April 2021. It's not made for May 2021 or any previous time. It is made for WWDC 2021 and beyond. And this is what a lot of you guys have been saying in the comments, and I guess I haven't articulated it quite as well. This iPad is made for what is coming. This is the writing on the wall for what is about to happen with iPad software. There are about to be a ton of desktop applications moved over to the iPad. I'm not saying that Mac OS is coming to the iPad. I'm saying that professional desktop applications, Photoshop is already on there. So once again, overkill anyone? Logic Pro 10, DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro. I almost said Logic again. These are the applications that will be making their way to the M1 chip on the iPad, and that's what's gonna get it going. That's what's gonna start making it sweat, and that is what it's designed to do. So all these iOS apps that are currently there, yes, I will say it again, the M1 is overkill for even those applications. They're gonna run buttery smooth. And this is where we get into the part that you're not going to like. It will run just as smoothly on the 3rd and 4th generation iPad Pro in both the 11-inch and 12.9-inch sizes. And that is what I am personally going to recommend for everyone using the consumer workflow or the student workflow. I'm sorry, unless you're really trying to consume an HDR, you could get the same type of experience as far as workflow with just the processor crushing everything you throw at it with the 3rd and 4th generation. And unless you love that content so much that you're going to pay an additional $400 just for the mini LED, you're not going to experience any difference as far as performance on iOS apps that were made and run on any iPhone or iPad or iPod Touch. My students, you're recording video, you're doing Zoom calls, you're doing word processing, all of those things are going to be crushed. You guys have to remember that the iPad 4th generation was already overkill in everything. And so people started crying out saying, look, the software is not taking advantage of this hardware. There's nothing we can throw at this device that makes it stutter or lag. This is one of Marques Brownlee's biggest complaints about the iPad Pro, is the software holding it back. And also Rene Ritchie has said time and time again, he'd like to see Final Cut Pro on the iPad. And so that is what they're moving towards. And so if you're anything less than a prosumer or professional user for the iPad, you're wasting your money unless you really want that superior display. And it is superior, I will say that. It's going to be stunning. So yeah, that's it. Consumer or student, get the iPad Pro 3rd or 4th generation. You could save a lot of money and you won't notice any difference. And if you're a prosumer and you want to be forward thinking, definitely go with the M1, as it will be future proof for whatever is coming at WWDC. Now, for all of you who have stayed to the very end of this video, I have a surprise for you. As you know, we're doing the AirTags giveaway. I have a way to give you 3 additional entries for that giveaway. When we do the video for the giveaway, I'm going to tell people to comment which professional desktop application they'd like to see ported to the iPad first. And when you leave your comment, put "Hey GG," "Hey Granted Geek," in the comment, "Hey GG," and then leave your comment on which desktop application you'd like to see on the iPad first, and that will give you an additional 3 entries into the competition, as well as your regular subscribe and comment entry. So a total of 4 entries. That's my little thank you to you guys for staying around to the end of the video. If you like the video, which probably by now I would assume you do, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys once again. 100,000 views on the Apple Secret Plan video. I plan to crank out a ton more content for you guys, so keep it locked here. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, check out our sister channel, WeSabes, where we cover your favorite movies and TV shows, if you're into that kind of stuff, because who isn't? Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granted Geek Show.